Hello there, this is Tyson. I thought I'd do a bit more of a in-depth review of my solar panel system that I have installed in my garage. There is 27 panels. Each panel is 275 watts, making a total of 7,425 watts. There are two strings that are connected, and that goes into the inverter that's inside the garage. The system was installed by a company in Manitoba called Solar Manitoba, and their international name, if you want to call it, since they operate under two different names, is Sycamore Energy, and they have installed solar panel systems in the Caribbean and other places in the States. Anyways, they have extensive knowledge in installing solar in Manitoba. Right now, I believe their most popular clients are the farmers. They're taking advantage of securing the cost for their power by installing large solar panel systems. So we'll go up to the meter and we'll see it probably going backwards. It's March 13th today, and it's not too cold out. It's about -10. But you see the meter here. You can see you see the arrow flicking backwards. If it's going towards the right, that means we're using power from the solar, and if it's blinking to the left, that means that we're selling solar. So right now it looks like we're doing a little bit of both. I'm not sure what's on in the house right now, but yeah, it fluctuates off and on. So we'll go inside and we'll take a look at the inverter. It's a 10 kilowatt Solar Edge inverter, and it has online monitoring, so I can go on my phone or my tablet at any time and I can see what it's producing. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough room on my garage to put the full 10 kilowatts, so I can only put 7,425. But when you go through the display of the Solar Edge, you'll see that it's 6,042 watts right now. Apologize for the clarity of the video. Using my iPad. I don't have a digital camera yet. It's in the works. But if you're interested about the Solar Edge, it's really neat technology. And there's an antenna on top of the inverter, and then that's wireless. So that'll connect to the receiver that I have inside the house, and it's all connected through Wi-Fi. There's other systems you can get where you can run Cat2 cable directly to your computer and have the information come up on the app and on the website that way. But Wi-Fi seems to work the best. I personally like to check the info on my phone. I can show all the people, hey, look at this, look what I'm producing in my power today. It's pretty neat. So if you look on there, it says POK 2727. That means 27 panels are registering. Now, when there was snow on the roof of the garage, some of the panels weren't registering, and I got a little bit concerned at first because I'm still new to this. I thought maybe I might have damaged them with the way I was snow clearing, but no, everything seems fine. If you push the button in the middle here, underneath the warning ungrounded system, you can kind of toggle through all the different information of your system at the current moment. So if you look right here, you got your days per kilowatt hour. So it's saying already since sunrise 19.2 kilowatt hours we've made already. And the month and the year and the total kilowatt hours, those are since the system's been installed. It's not necessarily by the year, I don't think, because total and year are the same. So I can go on my app and I can actually see what I've produced since I've installed the system. It's about, I guess, about 5 months or so. Shows your volts, your DC volts coming in, and then of course where you are, and then some information about your router and address and stuff. And this is to do with your Zigbee, it's called. It's basically, it's almost like a mini slave, they call it. Slave drive, something like that they call it. It's inside the inverter. So if you had two 10 kilowatt inverters installed, you'd have this little slave device in there. It's basically a chip. And if you have more than one inverter, it basically, if I understand it correctly, it helps the inverters talk to each other so that you get an accumulated amount of power output. Yeah, I don't make SolarEdge, so I'm just doing my best with trying to explain how this works. So you got your green light, and it shows that you're producing power, and then every once in a while you'll see a module communication light right here blink, and that just tells you that it's communicating with the wireless system inside the house. So you got a main disconnect right on the bottom of the inverter right here, and that'll shut it right down, because if you ever have to do any kind of service on these panels, what's really neat about the SolarEdge is when you have them off, they have the ability to only have 1 volt coming from each panel. So there's what's called an optimizer on each panel, and it'll limit the amount of voltage that's coming to the inverter. So if you have, if you have 27 panels and then the limit's on, that's 27 volts. So it's a safety mechanism. But you'll notice if you ever have to power this off, which I've done a few times, it's almost like there's a countdown, and then it'll tell you when the voltage is safe for you to be able to operate on the inverter or the panels or whatever. It's a really neat system, good for safeguarding. Alright, so then here we go, here's some disconnects. So this one here is ADC disconnect, and then you got another disconnect up here for another AC disconnect, and then that's going to bypass my 200 amp panel. I mentioned it in the last video, I don't know why I mentioned it, it's not needed, but anyways, it goes directly into my 400 amp panel. When I bought the house, it had really bad issues with wiring, so I redid the whole entire property. And one of the things I did was I did a 400 amp panel because I wanted to make sure I always had power. So the system goes to a dedicated 60 amp breaker. You'll see it there. So then you can shut it off there if you need to, or worst comes to worst, I guess you could always pull the main 400 if you don't want any more power to the whole system. But anyways, there's so many disconnects, and there's one on the other side as well. So I'll show you my app if I have it on me. Oh, okay, I don't have my phone on me. So anyways, hope that's a little bit more in-depth. I realized the last video I did wasn't too in-depth. But if you have any questions, I can tell you this system was about $24,000 to have installed. Because I bought it in Manitoba, right now there's a rebate and an incentive. So the local utility, which has a monopoly on power in Manitoba, which is fine, because we still have the lowest prices in Canada pretty much for power at 7 kilowatt hour, or what is it? 0.793 cents a kilowatt hour. And we don't have any fluctuating rates, so there's no peak time or off time, there's none of that. It's just a flat rate all the time. Anyways, they have a program, a solar incentive program, so you can get a loan through them, and they'll loan you $3,000 per kilowatt DC that you install. So with me, there was a bridge I had to make of $3,000 because the loan didn't quite cover it. But I look at it as an investment in the property for sure, and investment in my family's future, because who doesn't want to have, you know, half the hydro bill 10 years down the road. So yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll try to answer them. And if you live in Manitoba and you want to come see this system, how it's worked and how it's hooked up, you know, you're more than welcome to stop by. Just message me, let me know. All right, have a good day.